Hey y'all, and welcome to my January reading wrap-up. I think that I mentioned this before in my December wrap-up video, but I'm not sure to what degree I did. So I want to start out this video by saying that I'm going to be doing these updates a little bit differently. I'm going to be probably calling these TBR takedowns by the month, which is my effort to put a stronger focus on reading down my large TBR. So I want to include numbers and updates and kind of like progress for each check-in, and then see where we are at the end of each month, and hopefully by the end of this year be at a more reasonable number. This weekend, I reorganized my entire physical TBR because I felt that my list was inaccurate, to say the least. A lot of pre-orders had not been added, new purchases had not been added, things had not been taken off. So I wanted to get a real, accurate number. And what I did was I pulled everything off the shelf. It was also way out of order, and I like things to be in alphabetical order, but I kind of told myself like, oh, it doesn't matter. Let it be wild. Let it do what it wants. And that was not working for me. So what I did was I pulled everything off the shelf. I went letter by letter of the alphabet, organizing it, and I scanned every single book into the Libib app. I also updated my personal spreadsheet to include new books, remove ones that needed to come off, and just make sure that the spreadsheet and the Libib app were matching. One thing to note about the Libib app is that I did not add my pre-orders to the app. I scanned everything using the barcode on my physical books, so I didn't go in and add those manually. I'd just rather not, and I'll add them at the time. However, I just felt like that was a good backup to have to my spreadsheet, and I think I am going to be adding my handwritten list to the back of my planner, because while I have many pre-orders out right now, I am imposing a little bit of a book buying ban on myself. I don't know what that looks like yet, so I just want to be really honest about that. I know myself. I know that I enjoy purchasing books, but when I broke down the numbers, I have 17 pre-orders already for this year, and my physical TBR was at 369 books. I could shop my TBR no problem, because throughout the organization process I did realize how excited I am about so many of my books, and so I just need to reignite that. So while I hope to continue on with my adventures, I am also going to be flexing a little bit of my willpower and trying to not buy any books for the first 3 months of this year, with the exception of the pre-orders that are already coming. So with that explanation out of the way and the numbers up front, I'm going to show you what I finished so far. First up, I did finally finish Krampus, and I absolutely loved this. I think I gave it 4.5 or 4.75 stars. This is the story of Jessie, who is an aspiring singer-songwriter living in the impoverished Boone County, West Virginia. He has lost his wife and young daughter to crooked police chief Dillard Deaton due to his own sort of inaction surrounding his career. On Christmas Eve, Jessie witnesses 7 demon-like creatures attacking what appears to be Santa in his sleigh. So Santa's sack makes his way into Jessie's possession, and he finds himself thrown into the middle of this centuries-long battle between Santa and Krampus, all while trying to put his own family back together. I really like a story of redemption, but I also love a story of vengeance, and this had both. This completely solidified for me that I will be reading anything Brom writes in the future, and I will be going to his backlist and reading all of those as well. Wonderful, wonderful book any time of year. The next book that I finished is a pre-order, but it's also a pre-order of a re-release, so I don't have a physical copy to show you, but I did have the Audible version, which I don't know if I got it in a sale or what, but I just happened to be looking in my Audible library, and there it was. And it is 9 Goblins by Kingfisher. This is the story of Goblin Sergeant Naselka, who finds herself in a small squad of her Goblin soldiers transported deep behind enemy lines by what they think is an evil wizard. Now they meet an elf in the forest and discover some really troubling things along the way, but Naselka's goal is just to get her and her squad back home. I was not sure how this was going to get wrapped up. Like, as I was getting closer to the end, this is just a novella, so it's not very long. The closer we got to the end, I was like, how are we going to wrap this up? What is going to happen? And I was not disappointed. I really thought it was great. In the style of Kingfisher, there was some gore, there was some grit, there was some honestly like heartbreaking scenes. However, there's also a lot of heart, a lot of humor, and a real feeling of friendship and camaraderie, which I enjoyed so much. One of my tentative goals for this year is to read through Kingfisher's backlist. However, because it's so large and it includes volumes that she worked on and maybe was not the sole author on, I really need to figure out what that backlist is for me before I can say, yes, I'm going to complete it this year. I haven't decided what my next read is going to be quite yet. However, I have a few that I'm very interested in starting. One is Kill the Beast. This actually fits a prompt in my reading journal as well, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I also have Buried Deep from Naomi Novik. This is a collection of stories. And finally, something that really intrigued me while I was going through my TBR is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I could be totally wrong. I could be way off base, but this kind of reminded me when I was reading the back again. It kind of reminded me of like a Bluebeard retelling, but with a female Bluebeard. This one really caught me by surprise. Obviously, I kept it for a reason, but something this time clicked. Like, it really feels like Bluebeard. So we leave the first check-in with a total of 367 books now on the physical TBR, down to 16 of those being pre-orders, and I will see you for the next check-in. Hey y'all, it's been about a week. I have done a lot of reading, but only a couple of my physical TBR books. The first that I finished was Buried Deep by Naomi Novik. This was a little bit of a surprise for me. I assumed that I would read this slowly over time and just like one story at a time, but I read this over the course of I think 3 days. I just read in chunks. The stories were overall very good. There were a couple, two I think exactly, that I skipped because I wasn't being pulled into them, and one was from her, I think it's called the Scholomance series. It's in that world. I've never read those, and I just felt like there was something I was missing. Another one was more sci-fi feeling, and I just couldn't click with it. However, there were 4 absolute sensational standouts for me that I will come back to time and time again to read them. I have tabbed them so that I know exactly where they are. These stories I absolutely loved. I am still thinking about them, and I just know that I will come back and read them. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a wintry book. I don't know why I thought it was. But yeah, I would say you could read this any time of year. I really enjoyed it, and it has opened me up to the world of Naomi Novik and wanting to read more of her stuff. I think I gave this 4 stars because overall, the quality of story was good. Also, I just finished A Pirate's Life for Tea. This is book 2 in the, I think it's Tomes. Yeah, Tomes and Tea series. This follows Kianth and Reyna on an adventure, a pirate adventure, and it was really, really so much fun. Honestly, as soon as I finished this, I just wanted to jump into the 3rd book. I have read a couple of other things. I had an ALC that I finished early in the week because I wanted to get a review out. It came out on Tuesday, and that was The Murder at World's End, I believe it's called, by Ross Montgomery. Highly recommend. Amazing book. I also finished Female Fantasy. I just, on a whim, requested it from the library, and the hold finally came ready, and I loved it. It was amazing. So like, separate shout out for that one. I would also recommend that. And this, I would also recommend this series. I just had a really good time. I think I gave this like 4.25 stars. These books are so fun, and they're very sweet and heavy on the found family and heavy on the like almost self-discovery aspect of friendship and finding your place in the world. And I just really enjoyed it. So I'm past the prologue, and I think through the first chapter of this. I'm not very far in. I am going to utilize Spotify for this because we have been so busy. We spent the entire day yesterday literally making sausages. So I think I'm going to use some Spotify hours and probably partially listen to this. I'm not sure if I will do any immersive reading or if I'll just switch kind of in and out, which I tend to do sometimes. I'm just really impatient to read this, and there's only one more after this, and that is the end of the series. One of my 2026 goals was to read through the series that I have here, especially ones I've already started, like this series. So I will finish this before the end of the week, I'm sure of it. And then I have to read our book club book, which is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. That's a big book, and I'm gonna at least need to start it midweek if I can finish it by Sunday. All right, so those are the 2 books I have finished most recently, plus 2 honorable mentions. And I think that brings my number down to 364. I noticed after I filmed my first check-in that I had missed 1 or 2 pre-orders. And there were a couple things on my list that I had not taken off, like off the spreadsheet list that I had not taken off. So when I reevaluated with the Libib app and my spreadsheet, I just noticed some discrepancies. So I had to make that change and then, get to my more accurate number. But as of today, with the books I finished, I'm at 364. So we're making progress. See you for the next one. Hello, I have another update, and this is a big one I'm really excited about because I have finished a series that was really so enjoyable to me, and I'm a little bit sad that it's over, but I'm also so thrilled to have finished a series. This series is one that I started in 2025, and it was the Tomes and Tea series. So I have finished book 3 and book 4. I think in my last update, I will have finished book 2. So it shouldn't be much of a surprise, right? This is the 4th book, Alchemy and a Cup of Tea, and then the 3rd book was Tea at the Altar. There's like a lot of puns. I'm so thrilled to have finished the series and to be so happy with the conclusion and so fulfilled with these books. And I would definitely recommend the series. All right, that's where I am right now. I think this puts me at 362 books on my physical TBR. Okay, I will leave it there for now, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully with 2 more finished books. Bye. Hello, friends. It's been a few days. We are a few days removed, really, from book club. So it's probably been more like a week, but we finished The Lies of Locke Lamora. This was, of course, my in-person book club book, and I really enjoyed it. I think the general consensus was enjoyment. This is a little over 600 pages, so we did have 2 members that were not able to finish it before our meeting. However, they both planned to finish the book. It wasn't for like lack of interest, it was more a time crunch. And of the people who did finish it, myself included, we would continue the series. There are 2 more books in this series. I have requested them from the library because I, again, am purchasing no books until April. So even if I read these and I love them and I want to own the whole series, that purchase will not happen until April because I'm trying to hold myself accountable, okay? This is a fantasy book. I would say it's like a true fantasy adventure. It felt very heist, very ensemble, almost like Ocean's 11 in Venice, in a weird fantasy world where we don't know what the year is. We do, but the years make no sense to me. The city is not a city of canals, but a city of islands. So think like a lot of bridges, stone bridges, suspended bridges. You can see even on the cover that we have this bridge. There's someone in the water, like just a lot of like sea and sharks and water, a lot of water and bridges and cool glass elevators was one of my favorite parts. But we have a city that's sort of run by a hierarchy of gangs. And one of the gangs that we are following is the gang of the Gentlemen Bastards led by Locke Lamora. And Locke and the group of 4 other Gentlemen Bastards that he works with in the present day were all brought together by Master Chains many, many moons ago, except for Bug. Bug was a new addition, I think between Locke and Jean, whatever. They came together through Chains. Chains is like my favorite character. He has some of the best lines. I did start marking them, and then I was just highlighting stuff, underlining, and didn't even tab. I was having a great time. They're some of the funniest lines ever in this book. It was awesome, honestly. But back to the group. They are in kind of the midst when we meet them all in present day. They're in the midst of running a heist on a Don and Danya in the city, sort of higher society folks, and they're trying to get their fortune. Also, we go back in time to when Chains acquired Locke, for lack of a better term, and how he came to be who he was. I found that in those interludes, you would get a bit of a hint at what we were going to be faced with next in the story. What kind of lesson are we learning from this, and how will that play out in the next kind of chunk of present day time. I loved it, and I cannot wait to get to book 2. I also wanted to dip into the book of Eels by Patrik Svensson. This is, I think, part science, part autobiography, but it's about eels, and I love an eel, especially a moray eel or like a conga eel. Very, very interested in them. So I think this will be really fun. It's giving a little Jeremy Wade. I hope it delivers Jeremy Wade. That's what I'm hoping for a little bit of science, a little bit of life, a good time maybe. And then also I picked up A Spell for Midwinter's Heart. I can never remember the whole name. I picked this up in Target around Christmas time. I don't think it was after Christmas, but this is also not giving Christmas to me. It's very much just like winter. It looks so stinking cute. And so of course I had to grab it. And it's kind of become an honorary member of the winter TBR. I would like to read it very soon. All right, I'm gonna try and keep this really short and sweet. Last time, I think I said when I finished the Tomes and Tea books that I was at 362. No, I'm at 362 now, finishing The Lies of Locke Lamora. I don't know where I got that number before, maybe wishful thinking, I don't know. But that's where we are. I'm gonna leave it there today. and I'll see you for the next one. Bye. Finally, a bright day update. I have finished another book from my physical TBR, and it is The Book of Eels by Patrik Svensson. I went into this knowing that it was going to be a science nonfiction, but also with the caveat of, it says like slash biography, autobiography. For me, there were not enough eels. I only gave this 2 stars, and I'm not going to keep it, so let that mystery die here. The cover says, our enduring fascination with the most mysterious creature in the natural world. We do get some history on eels, history on eel research, anecdotal things, the author's personal history, and budding fascination with eels. However, I felt that this was too autobiographical. I felt like this really dealt heavily with the author's relationship with his father and eel fishing. I do think it's interesting that from a conservation standpoint, the fishing is reduced, but that also means that interest is lost in eels. And so from a conservation point of view, you want people to stay interested in the animal. Anyway, there were some interesting points for sure. However, overall, this is not what I wanted it to be. I really wanted to like sink into the eels, like just all about eels. And I really didn't get that. I will say, however, I think it's Rachel Carson is an author that he mentioned a lot in here. And I think her books sound interesting from the information given. And he described it as she writes anthropomorphized sea animals and keeps it still in a very scientific form, or scientifically accurate. So that is appealing to me. So I will swap this for maybe one of her works, but this is not for me. This is not something I would ever revisit. It's not particularly something I would even recommend for somebody super interested in eels. The things in here you probably already know, and beyond that, it really is like an autobiography, memoir type thing. And it's not what I wanted. I did say I was going to start a spell for Midwinter's Heart, I believe. However, 2 things happened. 1, Catch Her If You Can came out yesterday, and I actually got my copy early, I think it was like last Thursday, from, I always forget, is it the last chapter or the next chapter, Long Island? Anyhow, I got my signed copy. I am so thrilled. So I do kind of want to read this next, except I also want to read this next, and I have started this a little bit. I think I'm into, let me see, I am only like 50-ish pages in. I'm on page 52, and stuff is happening. It is interesting. I'm enjoying it. I don't think I realized how big these books are. Like, she is pretty chunky, and this is book 1 in the Green Creek series by TJ Klune. It is about a young man who lives in a very small town in Oregon, and like a mountain town, and this enigmatic family that moves in, and they are shapeshifters, and his relationship with the family, and in particular their youngest son. So the reason I have this whole series on my physical TBR, but the reason I decided to pick this up, oh, that's cool. I'm so sorry. I hadn't noticed that before. The reason I want to read this now and specifically finish it in January is because my January prompt for the moon challenge in my reading planner, January is the wolf moon, the full moon is the wolf moon, and it said to read a book with wolf shifters. I'm like, I don't freaking have a book with wolf shifters. Yes, I do. I have a whole series. So I'm going to read this, and I might intermix it with this. Also, heavily into Wolfworm, but for some reason, I'm like giving myself little chunks of it at a time, and I think I don't want to finish it. I want to always have it going. I'm going to finish it this week. I need to, because I have other arcs that I've received. Also. How many times can I say also in this video? I received approved ALC for Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson. And I am stinking excited for that. I applied for, there were 2 options for the ALC and 1 option for the ARC. And I applied just across the board. So I got approved for the Harper audio. And then there were like 2 options for the Harper Audio. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like US publication, UK, Australia public. I don't know. However, I got approved for both of the ALCs. I don't know if there's a difference, but now I'm a little worried and haven't heard back about the ARC. So I'm probably going to squeeze that in somewhere here pretty soon. I am so freaking excited. I just posted my 2026 part 1 releases for the year, and that was a big like, oh, I hope I get that, and I just got it. So it's kind of weird, like kismet in my brain. So yeah, that's where I am right now. I don't think I have anything else to say. I almost forgot, finishing a book of Eels puts me at 360 books. If you are keeping me held to some sort of weird account on these numbers, it's just in the moment. I don't know, things could change at any minute, and I feel like I am doing a very poor job at keeping up with the accuracy. So according to the spreadsheet today, we are at 360 books on the physical TBR, including all the pre-orders coming this year so far. Take that for what you will. Bye. I have an update, and it's the kind of update that I honestly hate to give, especially when it's a book I thought I was gonna love by an author that I already know that I love. So it is with a heavy heart that I am DNFing Wolfsong, and I am not going to continue with the series. This is also a really good reminder of why you shouldn't buy an entire series, Jessie Sylva, without having read any of the books in that series. I felt deeply uncomfortable by the relationship being set up in this book. I've seen people agree, and I've seen probably a majority more people disagree. That's fine. You do you. I am deeply unsettled by it personally. There's a lot in here that I think speaks to this being a deeper relationship at these ages than people say. Like, nothing happens until they're older. No. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. In happier news, I have finished Catcher If You Can. I absolutely stinking adored this. I read this in less than 24 hours. A lot of that quickness is due to audio. I think roughly half listened, half read. I did do some immersive, I think it was last night, but I kind of started it yesterday afternoon, and I did 2 to 3 hours maybe of audio. And then as soon as my dogs were fed, my husband was settled, I read till like 10:30 last night and had a few chapters left plus the epilogue. So once he was settled this morning and then off to work, I finished it on audio while I was drying my hair. Like, I could not wait to finish it. It was so good. I really needed it. I really needed the pick-me-up that this book provided. I needed the happy, giddy, like sexy, fun time that it was, but it was also a very fulfilling relationship to see grow, like an actual true acceptance of each other. And the male main character was down so bad, and just to see him put aside his discomfort for Eve to really shine, I couldn't have asked for more. This is, I think I said book 5 in the Big Shot series. We have Eve and Madden. Eve is best friend to Skylar from book 4, and she's always had it bad for Madden as well, but Skylar kind of called dibs on him when they were 14, and Madden has always carried a torch for Eve. So he devises a scheme for them to be fake married because she is now the temporary guardian of her sister's 2 young children, and they really need health insurance. So that's sort of how the union is initiated, but they both have such deeper feelings for each other. I really enjoyed the mutual pining, and like, just, they had so much respect for each other. They had so much love for each other. It was so rewarding to read. It was so nice. I really, like I said, I needed this pick-me-up, and I hope she keeps going. I did comment on Tessa's post about this book and say, like, I would be ever so grateful if you would give us a Veda story or like novella, or like send me a voice note, what happens with Veda. And she did reply back and say, I hear you. So I hope that Veda's going to get a book. I hope she'll continue with this series. I think she's doing something a little dark right now for her next release, or like maybe a romantic thriller. I don't know, but I mean, you know, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to read it and I'm going to love it. So hopefully after that, she maybe will jump back into Big Shots. I don't know. And then usually at this point, I tell you kind of what my numbers are. So I have 355, I think it's 355 books on the physical TBR right now, with having read Catch Her If You Can and then removing the Green Creek series because I'm, like I said, very unfortunately not going to be continuing with that. So that's where we sit. And then I usually like to show you the book I'm currently reading or what I think will be next. And all I can give you really is this stack of books. The first one, How to Lose a Goblin in 10 Days. This just came out this week, and so I might actually move this to February because I think one of the prompts in my reading journal is a book with cozy vibes. Not that I have a shortage of books with cozy vibes, but like just the cover on that, it's so cute. So that's a maybe. I have a Solitude of Wolverines, which we're supposed to maybe, could be, possibly get some inclement weather from this winter storm this weekend. And so this feels kind of on brand. Another one that feels kind of wintry and menacing for a storm is Madhouse at the End of the Earth. This is nonfiction though, and I think that I'm still chasing a little bit of that nonfiction vibe after the Book of Eels was a little bit of a disappointment for me. So this is sounding like really good. And this is another prompt. I've been wanting to read this for a while, but I was kind of saving it for 2026 because another prompt in my reading journal, which is not month specific, is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And that's what this is. So I'm kind of thinking I would really like to read this next too. There's just so many, and this is a problem of having so many books, is it is really hard to decide what you want to read next. I'm such a mood reader. I wish I could just go down the list and read everything I have, but I just can't. I also really want to read the whole Paladin series, which is right there. I really want to start it and read it, but again, it's like the whole T. Kingfisher thing. I'm still reading Wolfworm. I don't want it to be over. It's like, I want to read her whole backlist, but I also always want to have a T. Kingfisher new and like unread. I don't know how to come to terms with that. Oh, I keep meaning to tell you guys, every time a book is staying in the library, like one that I finish and that I'm definitely going to keep, I have been stamping it with my embosser. So, I mean, maybe that's more exciting to me than to you, but that's my update for now. I will see you for the next one. Who knows what I'm going to read next, but I'm so excited for my next one. Bye. I have kind of a large update for you today, so I'm going to try to do this expeditiously. First of all, we did not get the winter weather that was projected for our area. There was no ice. There was just a lot of rain, and it froze on the trees for like a couple hours. But other than that, we didn't really get anything. I hope everybody who did get like really sort of hounded by that storm is doing well and has power, but we just did not get anything. I did, however, take the opportunity of us not having plans to read my heart out, and I finished, first of all, Wolfworm. This is my first 5-star book of the year. I'm 99% sure that that is accurate. I love this. I got a galley for it, so I only have the ugly net galley. Like, this is an uncorrected galley cover, so here's the pretty cover. I love this. It is set in a post-Civil War South, North Carolina to be specific, and scientific illustrator Sonia is kind of left without any prospects after her father dies. She works at a girls' school for a time, but she's always applying to things more fit to her. And when a reclusive entomologist reaches out to her, she jumps on the opportunity to go work for him. But this takes her into the interior of North Carolina, more rural area. So when she arrives, she has to walk like 10 miles to this guy's house. She's offered a ride, but the guy who gives her a ride is giving her weird vibes. And he tells her that there are devils in the woods, and he has seen the devil in these woods. So he would take her to this house no matter how far out of his way it might be. So that's a little weird, but after she arrives, things seem pretty normal, so she shakes it off. The doctor she's working for is kind of a nightmare. He's evil and mean, but the staff at the house is welcoming and as friendly as they can be to Sonia, who is a newcomer in this small, tight community. But things start to slowly go off the rails, and Sonia notices some real irregularities. Why are the animals acting so strangely? Why is Dr. Halder disappearing into the woods at night? And why are Mrs. Kent's chickens disappearing also in the night? Things get really weird. This is absolutely a horror. It is very gothic horror, historical gothic horror. The atmosphere is fantastic. I certainly think the descriptions in this book will make your skin crawl and probably make your stomach heave if you're anything like me. I consider myself not too squeamish, but this book was really a lot of body horror, which I do tend to be fine with. It doesn't usually bother me. So I did enjoy that aspect of it, which I guess is kind of odd to say out loud, but I did enjoy it. Like I said, I gave this 5 stars. I highly recommend it to anyone who can get their hands on it. It does come out in March. If you can get a galley early, I would highly recommend it. It was so, so good. It has definitely beat out my reigning favorite in her horror, which was The Hollow Places. This has taken the top spot, no problem. Next up, over the weekend, I did finish my newest graphic novel, Possession, which is Suitor Armor by Purpah. I picked this up in the Eagle Eye sale. I think a haul that includes all of that is going to be coming out soon, so this is kind of a sneak peek at that. I ended up picking up some of the Saga graphic novels that I did not own in that sale. And while I was looking, I saw this. It looked so cute. You have a lady in waiting and this, he's like becoming sentient suit of armor. He was like formerly just enchanted, but it seems like he's gaining sentience. And I say that because this book sets up several little storylines and paths for these stories and these characters, but it doesn't really conclude anything because you're just supposed to go right into the next book. Because I'm on my pause, I cannot pick up the next books. I think there are currently 3, including this one. And I'm just gonna have to wait till April. I'm adding it to the list of first buys as soon as I can start buying books again, because I cannot wait to continue this series. I thought it was so cute. I thought it was so fun, and I'm just dying to know, like, okay, what's gonna happen. For my not so wintry weather winter weekend, I did decide to start A Solitude of Wolverines, and I finished this, I think, in just 2 days. It is a thriller mystery with some science. We have Alex Carter, who is a scientific surveyist, I think. Like, she's a biologist, she has a PhD, but she's doing these scientific surveys like in the field. That's what she's interested in. So she gets a last minute call to do this, and she jumps at the opportunity to go. It is in Montana. It is moving into the winter months. It is on a mountain, and she's going to be studying Wolverines, if that didn't give it away. Wolverines are very reclusive creatures and very rarely spotted in the wild anyway, so I could have taken more Wolverines, but I understand that, like, true to nature, they are reclusive. I really enjoyed this though. I think I want to continue the series. Like I said, Alex is doing a survey. She has shown up. Her arrival is met pretty coldly by the community. She does end up making a few friends, but she is run off the road. She has left threatening notes, and she's just feeling altogether unwelcome. While she's doing her research though, a few weeks into this project, she discovers some really troubling pictures on her trail cams, and while she calls in the local authorities to investigate, they don't find anything, and it's just like a really weird mystery. There is a bigger criminal plot going on, a bigger criminal organization going on, and it just gets wild. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of action, but like I said, I enjoyed it. I do want to continue the series. I thought it was a great thriller mystery. I often struggle with them, but lately I feel like everything I've picked up has been kind of a winner in this genre. Last for this update, like I mentioned before, I picked up the remaining Saga issues that I did not have while I was in Eagle Eye. So I finished 7, 8, and 9. Kind of wish I had picked up all the ones that they have. I think through volume 12 are currently out. I believe the intention is to be at least 14. And I don't know when 13 and 14 will come out, but I do wish I had at least grabbed through 12 because I really want to read them right now. I did a reread of all of them, so my January numbers are going to be stacked because I read 1 through 9. And it really reignited my love for this series. It reminded me why sci-fi and this sort of sci-fi fantasy crossover really called to me. It is like a sci-fi space opera with magic and fantasy elements. It's so much fun. It's very graphic in several ways, language, violence, etc. But I do really love the stories. It's essentially about a family that's on the run from all of the governments of the galaxy that they live in, and just their fight to keep their family whole and keep their family safe. And the people they meet along the way, the people they pick up along the way. It's very interesting. There's several storylines, and people come in and go out of their lives, and you get to see where they end up. So I just really wish I had picked up the rest of these. I didn't realize that book 9 or volume 9 is actually the one released before I think the first big hiatus, and it leaves on kind of a cliffhanger, kind of a horrifying and heartbreaking note. So again, really wish I had the rest of these, but I don't, so those will be going on the list as well. And I cannot recommend this series enough, especially if you like space, if you like a little bit of sci-fi mixed with fantasy, mixed with like family drama. I'm not going to show books unless I've started them or I know that I will be finishing them next, because I'm rewatching these clips and I'm like, oh, I didn't read that. Oh, I didn't start that. Oh, I didn't do that one. So in an effort to not look like a fool, I'm going to stick with what I'm currently reading. I am currently reading A Spell for Midwinter's Heart. So this will be finished hopefully in the next day or two. I think if I sit with this, I can get through it pretty quickly. It is a magical rom-com as far as I can tell. And then I was going to hold this for February. However, I had applied for an ALC and an ARC of this back when I found out about it and added it to like my 2026 anticipated reads. I just got approved yesterday for the ALC of this. The ARC is still outstanding, and I obviously wouldn't read it in that format now that I have the physical, but I do have the ALC and I'm gonna need to review it, and it gets archived next week. So I am planning to read this over the weekend. It might not squeeze into the January. It might be like the first book I finish in February, but I wanted to add it because I had mentioned it before. I think in my last update is something that I really wanted to get to, but it fits a February prompt, so I might save it, I think I'm gonna end up reading it a lot sooner than that. That's it for now. This might be my last update before my final wrap up with final numbers. I do have my TBR number right now, I think is 349, which I'm so thrilled about. I think the graphic novels really helped wheedle that number down, and it's making me feel really good, really focused, really motivated. Also, not buying books and not adding to that number is making me feel really motivated when I see it go down. I'm just embracing all of these amazing books that I have, and that is so much fun. So feeling really, really good at the end of January. There are a few things that I wish I could buy, yes, but I'm feeling good overall. Bye. I did not expect to be doing another update so soon. However, I'm going to try to hit up 3 little free libraries today to drop off some books that I've had collecting for a very long time. And I DNF'd this, so it's going to be going to one of these little free libraries, and I wanted to show you before I take them today. I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't want to like dump on books that I DNF if there's really not like a huge problem with them. This just was not for me. I was not gelling with it. The female main character is not somebody that I could like relate to or sympathize with, or I found her a bit grating, and I was just bored. I think I got over a third of the way through this. I was on page 123, somewhere in there. I know it was between chapters 17 and 18, and I just thought, gosh, I have nothing. I have no desire to continue this, and I do not care what happens, really. So this just wasn't it for me. It's going to go find a new home. Last night, when I decided to let that one go, I did start Coraline, and I finished it this morning. I have not reviewed this yet in Fable, but I did really like it. I'm thinking 4.75 to 5 stars. I don't know why it's so hard for me to give like children's books 5 stars, but I actually do. I think this deserves the 5, so I'll probably end up giving it 5. Coraline is a young girl who, over her summer holidays, her summer break from school, her family has moved into a building of flats. She has discovered like the upside down. It's the other world that kind of mirrors hers, but in a really unsettling way. Everything is not quite right. And so she ends up having to rescue her parents from her other parents. And if you haven't seen the movie creeps me out so bad, but I had never read the book. I liked the book. It was not quite as unsettling as the movies, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so well done. I liked being in Coraline's little mind. It's so interesting how she would see things and how she approached problems. I love the cat. I will always love a talking cat, a talking black cat in a book, an animal companion. Absolutely perfect for this story, and I really enjoyed it. Again, creepy, but not as unsettling as the movie. I do kind of want to watch the movie now, though. Have not started it yet, but this is what is next on the plan, and I do think I'll be able to finish it before Sunday, which is February 1st. And I don't know if I have anything tiny. I'm like, can I squeeze one more tiny book in? Because I'm at 347 books on the unread physical TBR, and I'm so thrilled. Like, the momentum is just pushing me forward, and I love that I've built such a strong foundation in January, because I know there's going to be times where I'm too busy or I just don't have the urge to read like I do. So I'm kind of excited about this foundation that I've built for January. Off to like a really successful start. Bye. All right, for my final update, it is slightly anticlimactic, and I don't say that because of the book. I say that because I forgot to add this to my spreadsheet. So I've been operating with the incorrect numbers, and I am still at 347 books, but I finished How to Lose a Goblin in 10 days. I did mention that I got an ALC of this, so I listened and read through when I could. Like in my moments, I did both, but I mostly listened, I would say. I really liked it. I had a great time. I thought it was really sweet, funny, charming, interesting, and a unique addition to my cozy fantasy world. However, I just feel like I wish there had been a little bit more world building, a little bit more explanation. Like I honestly think this could have been 100 more pages and I would have been fine with it. I would have been really happy with it. I gave this 3.75 stars. I do want to keep it. I actually kind of would like to reread it. As soon as it was over, I immediately wanted more. And I'm hoping that this author will continue in this world because I really did enjoy it so much. I just wanted more. So like I said, that's 347 books now on the physical TBR at the end of January. Today is the 31st. I might read something else today, but I might not finish it. It doesn't really, I'm not gonna get hung up on it if I do or if I don't. We're supposed to have a snowstorm today, and it has been snowing for a few hours, but it's so light and it's so windy. Nothing is accumulating anywhere. I don't think it's going to accumulate, but we were warned for several inches of snow and there's just nothing. I'll insert a clip of what it looks like out our back porch. But it's funny to me. This is the second weekend in a row that we've been warned of winter weather and we just don't get any of it. I'm not jealous of people who get heavy snow, but it would be nice to have a little something. Anyway, I reduced my books by, I think, 22 books overall. I went from 369 to 347 this month, which is just under 6% of my whole physical TBR. So as that number comes down, my percentages will get higher if I continue this level of reading. And that's really exciting. I like seeing that sort of statistic. And it's great for momentum. It really keeps me motivated to just keep going. Also, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing my reading journal and how I've been filling that out. I'm willing to film how I do it. Just not sure if anyone is interested. But thank you so much for watching. I hope January was good to you, and I hope February will be even better. I will see you in the next one. Bye.